Welcome to WBUC News. I'm Scott Mann.
And I'm Sydney Simmons. On today's program, we will have reports on the overcrowding in the band room, a pair of teacher features, a look at a local independent band, and the school's new drug testing policy.
But first, Barrett Faulkner is here to tell us a little about the 7A champion Bucks.
Thanks, Scott. That's right. The Hoover Bucks football team returned to the championship game this year after missing out on the opportunity last season. The Bucks were successful in reclaiming the title with a 17-7 convincing win over defending champs McGill-Tulane. I'll be back later in the show with some highlights. Sydney?
Thanks, Barrett. As the size of the population grows for the students of Hoover High School, some classes and programs have felt the crush a little more than others. WBUC's Diego Yanez has the story about a big group trying to fit into a small space.
Have you ever felt claustrophobic before? The Hoover Band has drastically incremented their number of students throughout the last couple of years, leading to a major decrease for space inside of their band room. Head band director at Hoover High School, Ryan Fitzpatrick, talked to us about this situation and how it affects the organization itself.
Well, our band room situation is one that I would not say it's an emergency at this current time. Right now, however, it is definitely a facility that doesn't meet the needs of the students we have, or the number of students we have. And we did a growth analysis a few years back, and about 4 years ago presented that to the Board of Education, where we took all of the numbers in our middle schools and our high school that were currently enrolled in band, and just attached a low and a high percentage of retention that was based upon history that we have seen in the previous years. And we saw this coming, and it was one of those things that was exciting, but yet we wanted to be prepared for it and make sure that it didn't cause any negative, scenarios.
He tells us, though, that this problem of upcoming students in the next couple of years will only grow more and more.
The situation that we have now, though, is only part of the equation. We're currently at 320 members in our marching band total, but over the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to continue to grow, and from 25 to 35, 45 students each year, it's going to get bigger.
This situation causes major storage problems as more instruments are being stored in the band room every year.
As it is right now, our facility doesn't have any storage. For some reason, whenever they designed this building, they didn't take into account the need for storing all of the bulky instruments that take up a lot of space. And so we end up taking a lot of our instructional space and filling it with homemade shelving units and rolling carts that we've adapted to meet the needs. One of the additional problems we have is our uniform situation. We have one narrow hallway that goes into a very small uniform room, and each Friday night when we're getting ready for a ball game, you have that many students coming in to try to get their uniform, to get their hat box, get their shoes. It's a big mess. And really, it's almost to the point now that it's a safety concern, because you put that many students coming in and out of a tight area, and you don't want anyone to get hit or bumped into or, damage an instrument or something like that.
Mr. Fitzpatrick is definitely positive towards having more people than not having enough students in the band.
You will have the color guard going down to the cafeteria. We have the dance team going into the dance room. We have percussion filling in the hallways, down into the gym lobby, and then at the same time, even just the wind players we have don't fit. It's a situation where if we cram them in there, which we had to do a couple of different times, it's a situation where as you're playing, you really can't hear anything. There's so much sound density in the room that it just kind of sounds like a mass of sound, which is kind of fun sometimes, but it doesn't really help us educationally.
Overall, the Hoover Band is happy about the growth and the process of moving forward.
Without a doubt, it's a great problem to have. There's always going to be challenges. No matter what your situation is, no matter what your school situation is, you're going to have challenges to work through. And I am much more enthusiastic about working through these challenges than what would happen if we were at the opposite end of the spectrum and we were looking to get kids involved in band. At the end of the day, what we want to see is as many students as possible getting the chance to learn how to make music together, to learn how to work together, to get the chance to be involved in something where they have a key role in their school, and they can be proud of that. We think music education within our band program goes well beyond just the musicianship, but it also goes to leadership and good citizenship, and just giving students an experience that they're proud of.
Reporting for WBUC News, Diego Yanez.
Speaking of band, each of our newscasts this year, we plan to bring you a teacher feature where we'll take a more in-depth look at the life and careers of Hoover teachers. On our first installment, WBUC's James Ellenberger shares the story of one of the band's favorite directors.
Many students know the struggle of having to move from a smaller school to a larger one. Students aren't the only ones that have to deal with the sudden shift from rural to urban. Some teachers have the same problem. One such teacher is Associate Band Director Matthew Cicero. Before coming to Hoover, Mr. Cicero taught at Hamilton Middle School and Hamilton High School for 2 years. He says he came to Hoover for a myriad of different reasons.
The primary was be a little bit closer to home and work in a school system that I would want my children to go to.
Lead band director Ryan Fitzpatrick says that Mr. Cicero's enthusiasm helps drive the band to success.
He hits the ground running, making sure that the students have the very best band and the very best process so that their experience can be, as positive as possible.
Although he is happy to be at Hoover, Mr. Cicero says that it was somewhat difficult moving from a new program to a well-established.
Every program has its strengths and weaknesses. The program that I was at previously, I was rebuilding. I was working with a group that was very young. So this program was already well established. It wasn't exactly a culture shock. It was definitely a big change.
At Hamilton, Mr. Cicero struggled to run the entire band program by himself.
Well, I was kind of on an island by myself there. When I'm here, I have other faculty that I can work with. If there's an issue or a problem, we can collaborate as a team.
Associate Band Director Sally White says that the students are Mr. Cicero's main priority.
Really cares about the kids and really goes the extra mile to make sure everything gets done right.
Having earned his Bachelor of Science in Music Education degree and Master of Arts in Secondary Education degree at the University of Alabama, Mr. Cicero takes advantage of his new position to teach as many students as possible.
The numbers of the students that we have here, it provides me more of an opportunity to teach a wider range of students that I didn't have at Hamilton.
Although his career started at Hamilton, Mr. Cicero is happier here at Hoover than he was there.
But I think I've fit in and enjoyed this environment a lot more.
This has been James Ellenberger reporting for WBUC News.
While Mr. Cicero is a recent addition to the faculty, WBUC's Joe Leventree has this report on a Hoover teacher who has been around for a much longer time.
Ever since these doors of Hoover High School have opened, Henry Simpson has been an art teacher feeding the minds of children with creativity.
I've been teaching here since it opened. The school opened in 1994, I think. And I was teaching 2.5 years at Berry before that. It's kind of weird. I graduated from Berry.
Simpson has been doing art since he was a child.
I've been casting lead and aluminum and fabricating steel since I was 10, 11 years old.
Simpson gives his students an opportunity to see where their creativity is at the beginning of the year.
Each student that comes into a sculpture class, I give them it's a self-assessment.
After the self-evaluation, Simpson pushes his students to do their best.
From that, I give them projects that will challenge them, to make free-form objects and to make, rigid geometric type objects.
Ceramics teacher Nelson Grice thinks Simpson should have been an engineer, but appreciates his devotion to pushing his desire for art towards his students.
He has a really good mind for building things and then passing that on to other students, that passion for coming up with an idea and then designing that and for it to be correctly assembled or thought through.
Art student Riley Cattell says Simpson will always support you.
He's a good teacher because he's the balance between niceness and being honest.
Simpson loves working with his students.
I love my job. I love working with the young people and teaching them what I know about art.
Simpson is very passionate about his students' work.
The students make some fantastic stuff, really beautiful stuff.
For WBUC News, I'm Joe Levy.
Now here's Barrett Faulkner with the sports.
It was an incredible season for Hoover Bucks football this year, winning the 7A state championship while finishing the year with a respectable 12-2 record. only losing 2 games to out-of-state nationally ranked teams. Let's check out the highlights of the championship game. Pickering put the first points on the board late in the first quarter with an impressive 42-yard field goal.
Snap. The kick is turning, and it is good.
With 6 minutes and 35 seconds left in the second quarter, C.J. Sturtevant ran the ball for a 2-yard touchdown, putting the Bucks up 10-0 going into halftime.
Got to the goal line. Did he get in? I think he did. Yes. Touchdown Buccaneers.
The final score for the Bucks was a 37-yard run by Sturtevant with 8 minutes and 50 seconds left in the third quarter.
The run option.
Good run. He's loose.
Inside the 20.
It's a foot race.
And he dives for the pylon, and he got it. Touchdown.
In other sports, girls volleyball also had a great year, finishing with a record of 36-12 and finishing second in the state behind Mountain Brook. The boys and girls basketball teams are off and running. The boys are off to a record 8-2. Both teams will be hosting the Big Orange Classic over the winter break. And that's a look at sports.
As the number of students at Hoover increases, there is a growing desire to keep students safe. Part of this centers on those who drive to school, but also focuses on keeping all students healthy and safe in general. One method that will be on the rise is the use of random drug testing. WBUC's Creighton Patterson reports more.
With the new school year comes a new policy regarding random drug testing of Hoover City School students. In the past, administrators could only test under reasonable suspicion, but now, as 11th grade principal John Montgomery says, they will create a new list that can include any student.
It's random, so an athlete could be chosen just like a student driver or somebody who is in the band.
After the grant disappeared, parking fees covered the cost of drug testing.
The board felt like it was very important that we continue to have a drug testing program. And so last year we didn't have one because we didn't have the money. So this year the parking fees went up. The parking fees are going to pay for the drug testing.
John Montgomery said drug testing is very necessary.
It's a safety issue. You know, we don't want someone driving on campus that's impaired. And so the logic here is that we test and make sure the drivers are safe.
Athletic Director Andy Urban says the consequences for failing a drug test is pretty severe.
So if you get tested August 25th and you fail, you're done till August 25th the next year. Drivers lose their driving privileges for 45 days.
Urban also says we used to have a drug policy which was called reasonable suspicion.
Which would mean someone would need to have reasonable suspicion that the student or the student athlete was using drugs or alcohol while participating or on school grounds.
Okay, so for WB,
music is an important part of a teenager's life, whether it's playing in the school band, listening to it, or making it themselves. In our final story, WBUC's Cole Fortner tells us the story of 3 Hoover students that are taking their passion for music to another level.
I'm Will, I play guitar. I'm Tyler, I play keys, vocals, bass, and ukulele.
I'm Smitty, I play the drums.
They are the Earth Slides, a 3-piece alternative rock band based here in Hoover. They are all juniors in high school and find ways to mix music into their way of life. Guitarist William Russell voices his opinion on being in a band.
I have mixed feelings about recommending it to others because on one hand, if other people do it, then it's not as special. Not everyone's as good as anybody else, and they're kind of just going down the wrong path. But I do recommend it to other people because it's a fun thing to do with your friends.
His parents also tell him it's a good idea to have a plan B.
They encourage it for all I know because, I don't know, they're okay with me going over to Tyler's house, but I'm not sure they want me to really rely on it being a career.
Frontman Tyler Turner explains the struggles of juggling the responsibilities of school and band.
It's pretty difficult, especially on days when you have lots of homework and trying to write and record songs. It gets pretty time-consuming.
Drummer Amari Smith has had a connection with music in the past and hopes to have the same in the future.
I love music. I've been doing it since I was alive, and if it works out, then cool. We travel the world, play shows.
Smitty says his relationship to his bandmates is helpful to the progression of their music.
You know, being in a band with those two goofballs over there is cool because, you know, I grew up with them, so they know me, I know them, we know how we work well together.
He also talks about how making a career in music isn't for everybody.
I would recommend it if you got some good friends that are good at music, they know what they're doing, but you know, if you just like, yo, you want to start a band, and they're like, yeah, but you don't know a lick of anything.
The Earth Slides are producing a rock alternative album, Bad Things Happen, with Stevie Wonder's producer, Henry Pannion III. Reporting for WBUC News, I'm Cole Fortner.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of WBUC News. Please join us next time. I'm Scott Mann.
And I'm Sydney Simmons.
Go Bucks!